Man, good morning. Shit. Had to get me a rock star to wake my ass up. I don't want to be too addicted to these things. Usually don't drink a rock star when I'm not working out, but I needed that shit, man. But let me tell you something, man. You know, I don't want to be old and alone. You feel me? So that's why I'm chasing the bag right now while I'm young, you know. I don't want to end up old and by myself, you know. I want to be with money, man, so I won't have to be old and alone. You know, I see what happens to dudes who don't get their money straight, who don't get the bag. They end up older by themselves, man. You know? And the worst thing is to be is old and alone for me. I can't think of anything more dreadful than being old and alone by yourself. You know? You know, you're supposed to be old and with your family, man. You feel what I'm saying? You know, it's real, man, out here, bro. You know. Then the thing is, you're out of looks. By the time you get to be old and alone, so you can't attract a woman really, unless she's around your age. You know. I want to be able to have options even when I'm older, man. I don't want to be by myself, man. The good thing about having the bag is that you can afford to have options. You feel me? You can have options. You know? Instead of being limited all the time. That's another reason why dudes get the bag. You get tired of being limited all the time. Basically, you got a limited amount of options if you don't have money. As an average man, anyway. But I'm trying my best right now, man, to chase that bag. So I don't have to be old and alone. Hey, I'd rather be in Tyrese's situation right now than be in my situation right now. You feel what I'm saying? I'd rather have gold diggers around me, man, than be old and alone. You know, look at Sugar Daddy over here, bro. He got him a nice tall woman, bro. I haven't seen Sugar Daddy lately, but you can say whatever you want to say about Sugar Daddy. He not old and alone, and dude look like he about 60, and she look like she around 30, 35, somewhere around there. And he keeps her draped in jewels, okay? And somebody said, well, you know, those type of women, excuse me, I burped, sorry. Them type of women, they're only there for your money. You know, they're only there because you're providing them with a lifestyle, but who cares? You're not by yourself or old and alone or with a woman that you're attracted to. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're forced into a corner out here in this dating market. You're forced to date women you're not attracted to. That's my story. See, I choose to be alone right now because I don't like my options. I don't like dating fat women or women who are super skinny like Certified Stalker. You know what I'm saying? I don't like the options like that. If I want to be in a relationship, she gotta have a fat booty, you know. Gotta have some type of standards. You can't just take anything that walks. Like, man, your standards is not even a woman with a fat butt. What you doing with a female that don't have a fat butt, that has a flat booty? You know, that's not your standards. I remember I settled for that when I was younger, man. My last girlfriend had a flat booty, man. You know, because you ain't got no bread, no skrilla scratch, you can't afford to have standards as a man. You know, when you got money, you can afford to have standards. When you got money, you don't have to be old and alone. You always got somebody to go to the movies with, hang out at the park with, hang out at Starbucks with. You feel me? Never alone. That's why dudes get the bag. They keep from being alone. Because it's hard for a man out here, bro. Men have got harder lives than women, bro. That's why we chase the money so we can have an easier life. You know, women got an easier life without money. You know, especially if they're pretty, they can afford a sugar daddy or somebody to take care of their bills and stuff. You know, women don't have to be alone. But when men, if we don't get the bag as average men, we're gonna be alone, man. You feel me? You know, I don't want to settle for nobody who I'm not attracted to. It's like, man, it's like the system is rigged against you as a man. It's like either you achieve something or you're going to be dealing with the scraps and leftovers of the world. That's my story right there. You know? It's time to man up and get this bag, man, at all costs. Ain't no playing around. You feel me? Ain't no playing around. Ain't no pussyfooting around, man. I get the bag, I don't have to be alone. I don't care if I'm surrounded by gold diggers, man, unless I'm not alone. You know, like I said, some people are like, well, no, these women, once the money dry up, they're gonna leave you. I'm like, well, don't let the money dry up. The key is to keep on investing so you can stay rich your whole entire life. The key is to stay investing so you can stay rich into the grave, man. You want to stay rich your whole entire life. So don't let the money dry up and the women won't go nowhere. You know, money is number one, man, if you don't want to be old and alone, bro. You gotta keep a lot of money. That's it.
Wait. Cross Sarah Way at West Calavera Boulevard.
I don't like feeling vulnerable, bro. I don't like feel like I'm being backed into a corner and got, you know, and get whatever life gives me. You feel what I'm saying? I like that. I like to control my destiny, bro. And the only way you can do that, man, money. A whole lot of money, and a whole lot of fucking money. You feel me? A whole lot of money, more cheddar, more cheese. And that's all you should be thinking about at this point, man. So you won't end up old and alone. Hey, it happened to my mother and my father. They both died alone, bro. You know? They didn't have nobody. Because they were poor, bro. Nobody wants to be around you when you're old and poor. They stayed poor their whole entire lives, man. You feel what I'm saying? That's what you gotta do, bro. You're gonna end up in a old folks home by yourself, nobody coming around to visit you. You know, that'll be a sucky life where you just old and you ain't got nobody around. You ain't got a wife, you ain't got a girlfriend. You don't even have a twerk. You know what I'm saying? You don't have none of that around. Like I said, I don't want to deal with women position. I want to deal with women in a position of power. You feel me? I want to have power, you know? That's why I'm chasing this bag, man. As soon as I get the bag, I'm going straight to investments. So I won't be owing alone, bro. You could tell that dude Diddy, man, he was investing his money. That's how he became a billionaire. You know, he got in trouble with the law for engaging in prostitution. But, you know, the dude was smart with his money, bro. He was a billionaire. And he still got money. He's still worth 400-something million. That's not a lot of money, man. That's still a lot of money, bro. You know what I'm saying? But other than that, the dude was smart with his money. He like, man, I don't want to be owed no loan. I'm going to keep on investing my money, man. So I won't go back to being poor again. You know, when you get the bag, you got to keep your eyes on the prize. Like, man, I got to take this money. I got to invest it because I don't want to be poor ever again. I don't never want to be poor again. I don't want to go back to eating leftovers and scraps ever again. You know, some men, they got to take whatever life, what's up with it, man? Some men got to take whatever life gives them, man. You know, I read that in a book somewhere. You know, they call them drifters. You know, they just drift through life, taking whatever life gives them. Whatever they can, you know, they can get their hands on. You feel what I'm saying? You know, they gotta settle. Some women without curves. That's your punishment, really. Because a man ain't built nothing, you gotta settle for whatever life gives him. Woman with no curves, a woman with no booty, a woman with no breasts, you know, a woman that's less desirable, you know. You gotta settle for that. You know, a fat woman, a super really thin, skinny woman like Self-Life Stalker, like I said. He gotta settle for whatever life gives him. That's it. But when you rich, you don't have to settle, man. You don't have to settle. You know? Shit, I'm like Tyrese, he's talking about, oh, I'm tired of the fake love. At least you get some type of love, man. You feel what I'm saying? At least you got a gold digger around you with a big old booty. That girl Zelly, she got a big old butt, man. That's what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? The thing is, you're not alone. Or you're not with a woman that you're not attracted to. Like I said, that's my story right there. My ex-girlfriend, I stopped becoming attracted to her after a while, man. And I couldn't trade up for no apparent reason. Boy, if I had options, I would have got rid of her, man. But when you out here in a highly competitive dating market, you're limited with your options, man. I'll deal with a rich man's problem before I deal with a poor person's problem for the rest of my life. And then it gets harder to attract with just looks as you age, you know? So that's good to get the money so you'll never be alone. As long as your money is right, you'll never be alone, bro. You'll never have that loneliness feeling. Motherfuckers is lonely because they broke. They ain't got no money. You ain't made yourself valuable enough for females to pursue you. You feel what I'm saying? I don't give a fuck about these bitches, man. Once I get my money, once I get my bread up, they're gonna be chasing me. That's how I like it. I like to put myself in a position of power, man. Whoever's getting pursued is placed in a position of power, man. You know what I'm saying? They're placed in a position of power. That's how I like it. Powerless. I hate that word. Anyway, I gotta go fly my son. You guys have a good day. I'll see y'all in the next one. I'm out.